Roses are one of my favorite flowers to paint with watercolor. When I started my watercolor journey in 2016, I really wanted to learn how to paint roses. In this video, I want to show you how you can paint roses using just a couple of simple brush strokes. And if you want to learn how to paint flowers like this, then you can join the watercolor garden today. Let's get into painting roses. Hi, my name is Audrey, your watercolor bestie, and welcome to my studio. Before we start painting roses, let's talk about supplies. So I have some watercolor paper. This is cold pressed. This is the Canson brand, and I just cut it into smaller sheets. I'm using my LUKAS watercolors, and you can get these from Jerry's Artarama. They're super vibrant colors. I love just how they glide on the paper. This is my smaller set. I'm actually missing some colors here because I took some of my favorites out and then put them in my bigger palette. But I figured why not just go ahead and start using up my paints here. And I'm using my round size 6 brush, the Creative Mark brand Mimik synthetic brush, and this is also from Jerry's Artarama. I have some paper towel. This is used from another painting session, but don't want that to go to waste. Then I have some water and a spray bottle so I can keep my paints fresh. And let's start painting roses. So I like to start with a kind of a damp brush, not completely dry, not soaking wet. So I'm gonna wash it in the cup a little bit, blot, and then pick up my paint. And notice how I'm really coating my entire brush. And I'm gonna bring some out here because maybe later I wanna play around with the color. But feel free to choose any, red, pink, purple, orange kind of color that you want. You could even do blue for all that matters. Just as long as it's a pretty bright, vibrant, maybe a little bit dark color. So when I paint roses, I like to start as if we're looking at the top of the rose looking in. So if that's the case, the center of the rose is going to be the darkest. And for that, we're going to use our smallest strokes, okay? Just a couple of small strokes, just like that. And then I'm going to do some tapered C curves. And when I do these C curves and I have them next to each other, I want to really be mindful to leave some white space in between my petals and then have the petals overlapping. Now, as I move outward, I want them to be a slightly lighter value. So I'm going to wash out my brush a little bit, blot, and then come back and then do another set of petals. And this time they're a little bit larger. Washed out my brush again. These tapered C curves is what's really going to make your petals really unique. You can practice that simply by starting with the tip of the brush to the paper and then start with a thin line, then press down, apply pressure so that the entire bristle is on the paper, then drag and then lift at the same time. Okay. So this exercise, just try these drills like over and over again until you just kind of get that movement down. And then once you're kind of done with, these movements, then you can start curving them. And obviously these smaller petals are much smaller than these strokes. And so you can challenge yourself by painting them even smaller. So you just need a little bit more control over how you bend your brush. Okay, but just try these warm-ups, and then apply them to your rose again. So let's start with that center, just a couple of small strokes in the middle, and then a couple of C curves. Wash out your brush a little bit for lighter values. Now, if you want to take these roses to the next level, what I like to do is you can double load your brush or double charge your brush. So you have two colors, and then you kind of play around with how your petals even look. And you just kind of go back and forth between the two colors and just letting them just kind of spontaneously mix on their own. I'm not as concerned with value at this point. I'm more so going for that very loose kind of look. You can see a little bit of the pink here, a little bit of the darker reds here. You could even change up the colors and do an orange instead. Maybe the orange will stand out a little bit more. So if I have my red here, pick up a little bit more of those reds, and just notice how with each brush stroke, I'm getting slightly different colors. And instead of, mixing them on the palette or mixing them on the paper, I'm mixing them on the brush. You could do this with any kind of color combination, and that's really the fun of watercolors, just letting the colors kind of mix spontaneously. Like I love what's happening here, right? All right, let's just do a couple more of those, and then we'll paint a rose bouquet together. So again, just kind of play around with how you're picking up your colors. And when I paint leaves, I do the same kind of gestures that I did in these practices. So let's create a rose bouquet. I'm going to use the vertical orientation this time, and then stick with that color scheme that I was doing earlier with some reds, some orange here, and then some yellow, and then just kind of, spontaneously pick each color up and just see what happens. just adding another layer of paint kind of right here where all the stems kind of meet each other, just to vary the value. And there you go. Thanks so much for painting these roses with me. What flower would you like to see next? Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed painting roses today. I'd love to see your work, so if you post on social media, please tag me at Audrey Raw Design and use the hashtag #PaintWithAudrey. I'll see you next time. Happy painting. Bye.